story begins in 1526 when Babur, a warrior king with the blood of both Genghis Khan and Tamerlane running through his veins, marched into India. He faced the mighty Delhi Sultanate at the Battle of Panipat. With his superior artillery and battlefield tactics, Babur crushed them. Thus, the Mughal Empire was born with its foundations laid in blood and ambition. After Babur's death in 1530, his son Humayun ascended the Mughal throne. Young and inexperienced, Humayun faced a storm of enemies, the most formidable being Sher Shah Suri, a ruthless Afghan warlord. In 1540, after a series of battles, Sher Shah decisively defeated Humayun at Kannauj, forcing the Mughal emperor into exile. For 11 years, Humayun wandered, plotting his return, and in 1555 he reclaimed his father's throne, only to die a year later after falling down a staircase, leaving the fate of the empire to his son Akbar to truly forge the empire's golden age. At a very young age, Akbar the Great ascended the throne. What followed was an era of brilliance. Akbar was not just a conqueror, he was a visionary. He expanded the empire, defeating the fierce Rajput kingdoms, conquering Gujarat, and stretching Mughal rule deep into Bengal and the Deccan. But Akbar wasn't just a man of war, he was a man of ideas. Understanding the diversity of his empire, he abolished the jizya tax on non-Muslims and welcomed scholars, artists, and thinkers into his court. His Din-e-Ilahi, an attempt to blend elements of major religions into one faith, was ambitious, though it never took root. By the time he died in 1605, the Mughal Empire was at its peak, a colossus of wealth and power. Akbar's son Jahangir took the throne next. Jahangir was a ruler of refinement, more in love with art and poetry than war. Under his reign, Mughal culture flourished. One of the most significant figures in his court was his wife Nur Jahan, an ambitious and politically astute woman who became one of the most powerful figures in the empire. She issued royal decrees, managed the imperial court, and even had coins minted in her name, an unprecedented role for a Mughal empress. But Jahangir's addiction to opium and alcohol affected his decision-making and left the empire vulnerable to internal strife. And by the time Jahangir died in 1627, the Mughal throne was once again at crossroads. Then came Shah Jahan, the emperor who built the Taj Mahal, a monument of love, sorrow, and unmatched beauty. Shah Jahan's obsession with architecture didn't stop at the Taj Mahal. He built the Red Fort in Delhi, the Jama Masjid, and the Peacock Throne, an extravagant symbol of Mughal wealth encrusted with diamonds and rubies. However, such lavish spending drained the empire's treasury, and his ambitious son Aurangzeb saw the peril and predicament ahead. In a dramatic coup, Aurangzeb imprisoned his own father in 1658, taking the throne for himself. If Akbar was the empire's architect, Aurangzeb was its overreacher. He was a ruthless and devout ruler who expanded the Mughal Empire to its greatest territorial extent. But his conquests came at a cost. Unlike Akbar, Aurangzeb enforced strict Islamic laws, reimposed the jizya tax, and waged endless wars. The once loyal Rajputs, the Marathas, and the Sikhs all rose against him. By the time Aurangzeb died in 1707, the empire was stretched too thin. The treasury was drained, the people were restless, rebellion was everywhere, and the golden age of Mughal rule had ended. After Aurangzeb, a series of weak and corrupt rulers followed. The Marathas, the Sikhs, and the Rajputs carved out independent territories, while foreign invaders added to the chaos. With each passing decade, the empire shrank, losing land, power, and influence. Then came the British East India Company, a merchant army disguised as traders. In 1764, the British defeated the Mughal forces at the Battle of Buxar. Emperor Shah Alam II was forced to accept British protection, becoming a puppet ruler. By the early 1800s, The once mighty empire was reduced to a city-state within Delhi. The last Mughal ruler, Babur Shah II, was left to rule only within the walls of the Red Fort, while the British governed in his name. Yet in 1857, a rebellion was born. The mutiny, also called the First War of Independence, was a massive uprising against British rule. The rebels under Babur Shah II captured Delhi, proclaiming the restoration of Mughal rule. But the British response was swift and brutal. By September 1857, they crushed the uprising. Thousands of rebels and civilians were executed. Babur Shah II was arrested, tried for treason in 1858. His sons were publicly executed, ensuring that the dynasty would never rise again. With that, British abolished the Mughal Empire and took direct control of India, officially ending more than 300 years of Mughal rule and ushering into the era of British Raj.